listen to him first and then we'll get on to the business. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sajikumar. We have an interesting half-day program today. Very interesting resolution Ruchi Soya will be discussing. But before that, I wanted to make three specific appeals. First is about the trying times we are in. These are trying times for the humanity. Countries after countries are getting engulfed in the wave of corona. We do not know what we are in and what the future holds for us. With the existing knowledge, it is clear that the stage of denial is over. No one is immune. Whether we like it or not, we are already fighting a war, and there is no way we can run away from it. The leadership all over the world have given a clarion call to defeat the sinister corona and eliminate it from the world. In this war, Honorable Prime Minister of India is leading the strongest army from the front. It is strong because it includes 1.5 billion Indians, brave soldiers including you. As much as soldier does not return from the battlefield without killing the enemy, we must not show our back until we release the Mother Earth from the grip of corona. I am conscious I am talking to great fighters and caregivers who have only one mission, that is rescuing the distressed persons, companies as well as humans. Your profession is to deal with the distress in your daily lives, and probably that is the way you de-stress yourself. I have no doubt about your capabilities and commitment. Despite all non-cooperation and constraints, you have improved performance of several corporate debtors during the CRP, which the entire board of directors could not. You have rescued 200 companies, one-third of which were not alive. You have made a difference to lives and livelihood of lakhs of stakeholders of distressed companies. You, a small contingent of less than 3,000 in less than 3 years, have achieved much more than what others tens of thousands have done in decades. By profession, you are a caregiver like a healthcare worker. You are providing care for the critically distressed persons. Your responsibilities increase manifold in times when the continuing global healthcare pandemic, the COVID-19, while having brought human suffering, is also causing major economic disruptions. It has created a business continuity risk almost across all sectors of the economy worldwide, with its epicenter in China, from where the output contractions and supply chain disruptions first erupted. The effect of the same is now felt worldwide. The IBC provides a right to initiate CRP and initiate it at the earliest. It is, however, not an obligation. It is so because the stakeholders may have 1,000 commercial reasons not to initiate it. Of other things, one needs to weigh the consequences of initiating a CIRP. Will it find a white knight to rescue the corporate debtor? On the one hand, a company may not have enough demand for its product and consequently may fail to service debt, and on the other hand, if many such companies get into insolvency resolution process, there may not be many resolution applicants willing to rescue these companies. So, therefore, whenever you are called upon to advise, please advise your clients appropriately, keeping in view the commercial considerations. In any case, as you know and we have been repeatedly reiterating, IBC is the last resort. Even the last resort has to be used very carefully. These are the testing times for the law as well as for you as professionals. I would have liked to speak to you in person. We had planned a big IP enclave at Mumbai on 16th. It had to be cancelled. Nevertheless, we must talk and fight together to save distressed companies, to save the economy and to save human lives. I know some of you are running pharmaceutical companies and producing life-saving medicines. Some of you are dependent on imports from China to produce these medicines. Your work saves lives in this trying time. If your work can save one life, all of us together can save the humanity. I pray and wish that God gives you strength to bring a smile on the face of every stakeholder and every distressed company. It's time for you to rededicate yourself to the service of the nation. I am sure you will rise to the occasion and prove your mettle in these trying situations. Let us all make our own small contribution to fight against this pandemic by doing whatever each of us can to protect ourselves, our families, our stakeholders and our fellow countrymen. Take care and stay safe. That is all that we wish from IBBI. My second appeal is about the danger of losing the reputation even before earning it. You as an insolvency professional constitute an important institution of the market economy. The implementation of the code solely rests on your shoulders. The code has put you in charge of a distressed company in place of board of directors. It has empowered you in so many ways, so much of facilitation, so much of protection. You are appointed by the adjudicating authority and can be removed only by the adjudicating authority. You have protections of actions taken in good faith and only IBBI can take actions against you. No court shall take cognizance except on a complaint by the IBBI. All these are keeping in view the challenges you have. I am no way undermining the difficulties, the challenges under which all of you work. Often the entire world is hostile to you, but that is the profession you have chosen. The sole objective of having a professional instead of the earlier debtor in possession model is that you would not have any interest in any party, but only the interest of the corporate debtor. You would not allow any private interest to take precedence over public interest. Like we talk about social distancing in case of corona, you need to distance yourself from the interests of stakeholders. There is some murmur in some corners, including in press, that some of you are bending yourself for private interest, sometimes in your interest or other times in the interest of a party that jeopardizes the objectives of the code. This is the beginning of the profession. You are laying its foundation now. You are forming its reputation. Once the society forms a perception about you, it is very difficult to change it. It is therefore incumbent upon each of you to build and safeguard the reputation of the profession, which should enjoy the trust of the society and inspire the confidence of the stakeholders. When an IP walks in, people should look at him with respect, not with contempt. They should not come to you because the law requires so, but for the value they get from you. If you as a class do not behave well, you can be replaced. No one is indispensable. Debtor in possession model under the SICA did not deliver, that was junked. If you as a class do not deliver, you can also be junked. This is besides the actions against individual IPs. You have seen registration of about half a dozen IPs have been cancelled for a variety of misdemeanor, and a variety of other kinds of orders, including monetary penalty, have been imposed. I urge upon all of you to work for public interest, scrupulously avoiding disciplinary actions against you, and safeguard the reputation of the profession. This is the beginning of the insolvency reform. Much more, including individual insolvency, cross-border insolvency, are on the anvil. It is entirely upon you whether you wish to take the insolvency profession to the next level. My third appeal is about the recognition of the hard work you do. The progress in implementation of the code is visible to anyone. However, even if a judge has seen a murder, he does not take notice. It has to be brought before him along with evidence. Similarly, the World Bank assesses ease of resolving insolvency, but we need to tell them what has been the outcome of the IBC or how it has been implemented for the World Bank to take notice of it. We need also to tell them what has been done recently to improve the ease of resolving insolvency in India. Normally, the World Bank looks at two broad aspects. One is the design of the insolvency framework and the outcome. As regards insolvency framework, in the recent past you have seen two legislations enacted by the parliament. For example, the World Bank gives a lot of emphasis on availability of essential services. We used to have that, and beyond that now we have provision for critical services to keep the company as a going concern. So, the feeling earlier was that probably Indian regime does not allow all kinds of essential services required for keep the company alive, and that is why we are not getting the score. But that has been made now explicitly clear. That is what we need to tell or fill up the questionnaire and tell that now every possible essential critical service to keep the company alive has been made mandatory by explicit provision of law. As regards outcome, they ask, give a particular example that there is a hotel having a debt liability of about 20 million rupees and having an asset base of about 20 million, where the debt liability as well as assets available are exactly same. And in this circumstance, they ask, what is the preferred option for the stakeholders to resolve this insolvency? It used to be earlier, people used to say that the options are foreclosure, going to debt recovery tribunal. Last year, it has been taken explicit recognition that it is the insolvency and bankruptcy, NCLT is the forum. And now that we have seen 25,000 applications for resolving insolvency filed with NCLT, this has become the preferred mode, first choice of the stakeholders to resolve insolvency. Similarly, doubts are about the amount of realization, whether this company will get into resolution or liquidation. We do not have a single instance in our country where the asset value available is equal to the debt amount. And even in much worse situations when the assets are not available, yet those companies have been rescued. The companies rescued includes 60-70 companies which were not even active. So, if we have a practical situation like that where there is a hotel and this is the kind of asset and liability, there is no second question that it will not be resolved. We have seen the companies which are getting into liquidation where the value of assets available is 1-2% of the amount due to the creditors. And when assets are matching 100%, invariably it will get into resolution, the question of liquidation does not arise. Again, the recovery percentage, in that example, if one looks at, people would expect recovery should be 100%, because assets are available and that is what World Bank expects. But we look at slightly differently, we look at that how much creditors are getting as compared to their claim, and that is why they are taking a haircut. But that is not what World Bank looks at. World Bank looks at of the assets available, how much has been the realization. We have seen our realization has been 210% of the liquidation value. So, in fact, it is 110% higher than the value of the assets available. So, that is the kind of outcome that has happened on insolvency and bankruptcy regime in this country. My colleagues here would take you through the exact questionnaire, each question and answers to help you to fill up the questionnaires. Unfortunately, we can't talk face to face now, but if you have some questions, you raise it by mail, we would be happy to answer them. And after this, I think we will be taking up the Ruchi Soya as an example. That is one of the very successful resolution plans saving so much of employment, and that is what IBC is all about. So, we look forward to you participating in this questionnaire, providing the information to the World Bank rather than allowing ignorant persons who do not know much about IBC give wrong information to World Bank, so that your hard work is reflected in the ease of doing business of India. Thank you.